Okay, well, it's 4:41. Why don't you grab some pizza? Okay, pizza, and then you could heat it up in the air fryer. Okay. I need three out in one. What? But tell me, do we have what? Yes. Yes. But tonight, I have this meeting from 5 to 7. So if you would like to order or make food, have at it. But and you're welcome to order um off my phone or whatever. But you need to do that before in the next 8 minutes. Or you can make yourself food from what we have in the fridge, which is like pizza and other stuff that's in their Chinese food that I would love for you to eat if you could or would.
I might get dinner with friends tonight, if that's okay.
That'd be awesome. They're coming here?
No.
You're going there? What do you mean?
We're probably just gonna get like tacos, chickpeas or something.
Okay, awesome. You need some money?
No, that's okay.
So sweet. Did you hear her, Taya?
I said, hello, family. Having a really good time. I thought it would already be started by now.
What do you mean? 4:48. You mean
Oh.
started?
No, I thought I was running over time. I didn't have my clock with me,
Oh.
so I thought I'd be down here and it would be after 5, but
Oh goodness.
I'm
I
early.
I still don't know. I still can't really find what Philo has to say about. Can you
I
explain
think
it?
he's trying to get to the point where logos is the beginning of an angiology, and he's trying to marry the concept of the logos with Metatron with wisdom as being this extension of God that is his like hands or boots on the ground, or he records everything ever written. He knows about the human world and the divine world. He embodies wisdom. And then the logos is like the word of God as personified by angels, is what I understand.
Okay.
My 5-minute summary.
Okay.
No. No, not everything is a toy.
The brace starting to hurt less finally. Less sore.
Okay,
Good.
good.
Nice shirt.
Yeah, I heard this is a pretty good band.
That's all right.
Hmm? All right, well, this will get us, you know. Hey, Talia, we're talking about your Torah portion. Maybe you want to like join in and chime in. Are you gonna join in or no?
Yeah, I am. I'm going to quickly print this
Okay.
and then.
Uh-oh.
I forgot there's a reason why I sign in on the computer. It's
What?
because you make me co-host, so you and Aaron can chat.
Well, no, not necessarily. No,
That's
me
what
and
we've been
Aaron,
doing.
me and Aaron can chat independently. No, I make you co-host.
No, but the
this way.
thing is like you'll be chatting with Aaron or you're reading and you don't see that people need to be admitted,
Oh,
but I can
yeah.
do that for you because I'm still
Yeah.
listening. But
But however, you. I love you to help me. It's all good. I love that you help. Okay. All right. Where is Mishpatim? Mishpatim. Parsha Mishpatim. Admit. And then I'm gonna make co-host and make co-host. Okay.
I'm not letting people in until 9 o'clock.
Oh. Hey, Aaron.
Hey,
How's it going?
Oh, wait, I'm not
Baruch
signing.
Hashem. How are you guys doing?
Oh, really good.
Great.
Wait, where's my yarmulke?
Cat related.
No. Hold on. Wait, where's my yarmulke?
Oh, it's under your computer, honey.
That makes perfect sense.
How you doing, Leah?
Good, how are you?
You want to see something really awesome that Talia painted?
Yeah, let's see.
I don't
It's
know
really
if you can
great.
see the. Oh, well, I have to look
You're,
back. I gotta turn my video on.
Yeah, camera's on.
Yeah. Let's see. You see it? You see? Praying at the wall? I don't know if you can see.
Maybe zoom in on this corner.
Yeah, but I think he's frozen.
Oh, can you let me in?
I let you in.
I had to rejoin.
Oh. I didn't know you had to rejoin.
Yeah, I said all. It's okay.
Hey, co-host.
Got it.
All right.
There we go. No.
All right.
Yeah, I think
He's frozen. You're frozen, Aaron. Your internet sucks, buddy. Yeah. Hmm. Oh.
She painted that?
Yeah, and now you're
That's
back.
amazing. Yeah, that's amazing, man. That's
You could
awesome.
you could see that? Okay, I'm glad
Yeah.
you could see it.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Somehow you like got kicked out or something, and then you.
Yeah, I don't know. That happens. That happens to me all the time.
Well, you don't
I'm
have
used to it.
You need to have a T1 line run to your house so that you don't have to go to work.
A what?
So is this Moroccan? I love it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, I see it. I knew it.
It's my Moroccan kaftan.
Yeah, your kaftan. Yeah.
Is that with the hoodie with the stripes that you normally wear?
That is
What?
a jaleba. That's a
What is it
jaleba.
called?
A jaleba.
Yeah, jaleba, but it's also Moroccan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also Moroccan. Yeah.
Moroccan.
Yeah, ever since I went to Morocco, I can't get away from it. I just
Well, my bedroom is Moroccan. You know, I love Morocco.
yeah.
What? So Talia, we started reading the Parsha, and Talia was like at the kitchen table, and she's like, "That sounds familiar. I think that was my Parsha. I think that was my Parsha." And I was like, "Yeah, right. It's your week. It's your It's your birthday."
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
Now, can you hear me okay, or should I go with the headset?
so far we can hear you.
All right.
I'm gonna let other people in. Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right. I'll start admitting people. Yeah. I like this section actually, even though I didn't. I'm a rebel.
It's all about the law.
It's all about the rules. Yeah.
The law.
I think it's interesting, I think it's very interesting, quite honestly, that uh, it's about they define it as like the ordinances, like because you've got the Ten Commandments, those are the laws. These are kind of like the laws, but are negotiable, sort of. I don't know, they're like a lower level. They're not the Big Ten.
Well, you make a good point. You make a good point. We start with the Big Ten, and then we go to the next. We go to the next level.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Right.
It's like they're fleshing
Yeah.
out the details. It's like
Yeah.
very legal. It's like, exactly. So, all right. Let's see. Let's wait another few more minutes. Yeah, I don't know about you, but like I find the commentaries like more interesting than the actual text sometimes.
Yeah, thousands of years of discussion, right?
Yeah, I love that.
Hmm? Yeah.
That's my favorite. Hmm. All right. Oh,
That's what
Aaron,
we
I
find
didn't.
ourselves doing right now.
Did you know that your cock lights up?
Yeah, I wanted you to see my cock, so I placed it in a prominent position.
Okay. It's medium size.
Never disappointed. No.
As long as, yeah.
I bought it used, and on Facebook Marketplace, I messaged the guy and I said, "I want your cock."
Gently used.
Gently.
He wouldn't play along. He really was not amused. He was not playing along.
Really?
Yeah,
He was-
I went all out. I was like I was in the whole thing, Yes.
Oh my goodness. All right, you ready? It looks like it's 5:01, and my cat
right,
has
good.
already started to make a noise and be
Yeah.
disruptive.
I
So
can
that's
take care of
that's clearly the signal. All right.
All right. Shalom Aleichem, everybody. It's an honor to be here with Rabbi Yirmiyahu, Temple of Miriam. My name is Aaron Romano, Aharon ben Yosef, Aharon Yosef ben Mordechai, and we're here to discuss this week's Torah portion and all things related therein. So as we begin every week, let's just do a quick blessing, because before we learn Torah, we always do a blessing, because we want to, whenever we engage in any kind of activity in this world, in the material world, what we do by making a blessing is we're elevating it now. So now instead of just reading, what we're doing is we're acknowledging. It's like a gratitude. Every blessing is an acknowledgement of gratitude. And when you do that, you're acknowledging that this is of God and from God. And now what you're doing might be in this mundane material world, you're now elevating it. And now it's not just existing here, but there's an acknowledgement that it's existing in the spiritual world again. So Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher b'chabanu mikol ha'amim v'natan banu et torato Baruch atah Hashem noten haTorah. Blessed are you, Hashem, our God, King of the universe, who gave us his Torah. Blessed are you, Hashem, giver of the Torah. So to recap, last week's big deal, the big part of that Torah portion was the giving of the 10 Commandments. And as Rabbi Yirmiyahu was pointing out before we began, he and I were having a discussion about it, we come to this Parsha called Mishpatim. And Mishpatim means, it begins in Hebrew, Ve'ela Mishpatim Asher Tasim Litnehem. And these are the ordinances that you shall place before them. So this is Hashem, God, speaking to Moses to then speak to Bnei Israel. But before we get into this, to recap also another principle, very important principle, and why we're and kind of a guiding principle of a Torah discussion. And this has been the guiding principle throughout the ages. And there's an acknowledgement that Hashem, the name, God, is one. When we say God is one, we don't mean that there's one God. We mean that everything is one. Everything is of God. Everything is connected. Everything is one. And once you accept that as a principle, so what that means is God extends from the past to the future to the present. There's nothing that God is not. God is everything. So when you accept this like eternal existence, something that exists beyond the material world, and then God then gives us the Torah, and that's what as Jews we believe, then by extension, you're saying that this omniscient oneness has given us this book. And so the book itself expands through time and has applications and relevancy to the Jews, Bnei Israel, when they were in the desert, but then Bnei Israel now, and Bnei Israel 100 years ago. And this will have relevance in 100 years from now. Because the Torah, while it remains the same in its text, it changes, its interpretation changes as time goes on. And that's why in the Stone Edition and in other Torahs or Humashim that cover the 5 books, which are the Torah, we'll have commentary by various rabbis throughout the centuries who've interpreted words, phrases, and you can see even the interpretations, however, and when you take a look at them, they too expand beyond time. So there might be a rabbi 600 years ago that made some interpretation, but that interpretation is relevant now. And that's the beautiful part about learning Torah. What we do is we look at it and we say, how does it apply to us now? How can it make our life better? How do we become closer to God in this principle of oneness? So we went from the 10 Commandments, which are like what Rabbi Yirmiyahu called the Big 10, to then civil law. So the Mishpatim are different rules regarding behavior as a society. And so if you recall, like now we have, it kind of makes sense because we have the Jews leaving Egypt, the Jews then, God gives them, there's all these miracles and signs. And so as a kind of develops them as a people, there's a unity among the Jews, an identity that's forming among the Jews. The 10 Commandments are offered. The people say we will do and we will obey. And so then at that point, there's this agreement. Now, the marriage really is about to occur between the Jews and God. And so those 10 principles of law first exist. As we went over last week, the first 5 deal with the relationship between humans and God, and the second 5 dictate human to human behavior. And so we're now in Mishpatim. Mishpatim it says it's civil law, so it deals with the law of slaves and how to treat slaves, how to sell slaves, what happens if you sell your own daughter as a slave, what are the terms of that. But I'm not going to go into the specifics because there are some other parts of the portion, the Torah portion is this week that's really, really important.
Wait.
Hmm?
Can I promise to only interrupt once.
Yeah.
Can I go into the sale of a daughter at some point?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the portion covers murder. So it covers intentional murder. You get put to death, but one who has.
Yeah, I want to read this for just a second because I think actually there's a lot here. There's just a lot even in that one thing, and then
What? The sale of the daughter? Sure.
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
But, all right. So, like, most of the time, like, I mean, obviously, I think in modern times, everybody finds the sale of people, human beings to other people, repugnant. Okay. And let's back up for a second and talk about this. If you have the Stone Edition and you look at the commentaries, okay, the commentaries are mostly talking about whether or not a Jew can become a slave, because maybe they volunteer themselves to become a slave because they're in extreme poverty, right? And they're basically becoming an indentured servant to someone, and they're going to work themselves out of their debt. And the other issue of becoming a slave, which is discussed there, which Rashi talks about. Rashi is one of those famous Kabbalist type guys, that if you could become a slave, but because maybe you committed some crime, and that is your sentence to make up for like lost wages or whatever, that the financial impact of your crime. If you can't make it up, like you don't have the cash, you destroyed you vandalized something. It's worth $20. Work it off, okay? That's what they're talking about. So the second thing, so that now that we've established that part, is this sale of a daughter, which sounds mortifying. If a man will sell his daughter as a bondwoman, she shall not leave like the leave taking of the slaves. If she is displeasing in the eyes of her master, who should have designated her for himself, he shall assist in her redemption. He shall not have the power to sell her to a strange man, for he had betrayed her. So, gosh, that sounds terrifying. Like, if she's displeasing in his eyes, like she's got to do everything he says, then that's not really what they're talking about. Again, you go to the asterisk, okay? And this is why Aaron is talking about it being a dynamic and living document. At that time, right, at that time, the situation was, let's say that you are horrifically poor, okay, and that there is another couple who desperately wants a child and will take care of your child and be a better parent to that child, giving that child more opportunities, not because you want to make $500, okay? That's not allowed, but it is allowed to give your child to someone else who can take better care
of them. And that's that phrase, if they're displeasing to their master, he can't just turn around and sell her to a slave, to someone else. He can't do that. That's not allowed. All right. And so this practice is a very Jewish practice of what's called climatotherapy, right? When shit is following you around, and it means that you are under attack by malevolent angels, right? And one of the Jewish defenses is to get up and move. So if you have a sick child, the view in Judaism was at that time was that sickness was caused by either demonic entities or malevolent entities. And one of the defenses was to change the child's name by performing an act of bibliomancy, opening up the Bible and looking at the first name that comes to mind. Sometimes the parents would change their own name because they didn't have IDs back then, and the attacking angel can't just card you. They just got to take your word for it as to who you are, who you say you are. And so one of the remedies for a sick child was to give them to a different parents and then rename them so that the angels couldn't find them. So yeah, this applies to female slaves and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to pretend, I don't want to whitewash it or anything, but I just want to present a more complete and nuanced aspect of that particular ordinance. And now I'll shut up. Back to you.
All right.
Aaron.
Great. So thank you for that. That's what's interesting is if you've ever traveled in North Africa, you'll see there are similar types of, it's not slavery, but it's domestic servants living with families. And it's and what a family
right.
will do, a large family in Morocco will encourage one of or many of their daughters specifically to go to another house where another family is wealthier and can afford to have this daughter there as a helper in the house, and she's treated with respect and dignity. I've seen it myself. It's not. I think that's what it's tantamount to. What Rabbi Yirmiyahu was talking about. This is not a slave. It's not a slave in the sense where the Jews were slaves in Egypt. They're not trying to replicate that. What they're doing is they're laying down rules of behavior, and already the Torah is dictating kindness for one another. So I mean, the underlying principle of treating another person. There was once a convert went to Rav Hillel. It was a great rabbi, and said, "I will convert to Judaism if you can teach me the whole Torah standing on one foot." And so Rabbi Hillel said, "Love your fellow as yourself. The rest is commentary." And that's the basis for the Torah. So all of these laws and everything we're learning, the underlying theme that you can find in everything is kindness to others and respect for others. And so we go into the different degrees of murder. There's manslaughter. What types of crimes will have the death penalty? And incidentally,
self-defense, whether or not you're allowed to kill over property, that's not allowed, right? So, right, this is what we're talking about. We, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about these issues today. You see this on the news all the time. The guy is running away from the cop, and the cop says, "Stop or I'll shoot," and shoots him in the back, right? We know that's not allowed. That's not allowed. The guy's running away. They're retreating. You're not in any harm. that's not allowed. Same thing in Judaism. I mean, that goes back 5,000 years, right? You know.
And what's interesting is this is at least in the Torah, we're seeing these laws laid out here that are, I'm a criminal defense attorney, and these are the basis for common law, criminal law. Common law meaning the law that was developed in England, and then it was carried over to the United States, and it's codified in specific statutes in the penal code in many of the states. Different degrees of homicide, murder, manslaughter, what types of crimes one gets the death penalty for. Now, I was going to say, incidentally, what's interesting about Judaism is, and these laws specifically with the death penalty, never in the entire history of the Jewish people has Torah law applied the death penalty. It's never been applied. It's on the books, but it's never been applied. And there are a variety of different reasons in terms of how the courts address that. But it's kind of like it's kind of like saying there are certain crimes that are so heinous that the penalty should be the death penalty, but it's never actually imposed. So there's alternative punishments available. And I think for those of you who are against the death penalty, I would imagine that if there was a penal code that said certain crimes deserve the death penalty, but we're not going to apply it, it's meaning that these crimes are so severe that at least on the book we need to recognize them as being worthy of, if someone is taking a life, in turn, one might argue that their life should be taken.
Kabbalists have discussed that, and I can dig it up from my writings, but they've discussed that, you know, every soul has an opportunity to undergo Gilgul and reformation and reincarnation, and that there have only been 7 souls that were so horrific that they were absolutely destroyed and sent back to the void. You know, but everybody else that's it. So it's the same thing. I mean, it's only applied
when you said Gilgul, what Rabbi Yirmiyahu is talking about is a Jewish principle of reincarnation.
Yeah.
So we believe that souls become reincarnated. You have this life, you go back, and then you're refining yourself. So this is like a training ground to refine yourself, to elevate your soul. There's the law of theft. Basically, if someone steals, they have to pay back twice the amount of what was stolen.
Interest.
Yeah. There's the law of tort, meaning if you're negligent,
It's malpractice.
Yeah, well, yes, but it's also negligence. If you dig a pit and you don't cover it, and someone's animal falls into the pit, you're responsible for it. You got to pay back for the animal. Now I want to get to
negligence. Malpractice.
That is negligence. You can't leave an open pit where someone's going to fall into it. If someone falls,
I think that
I cover it lightly with leaves.
No, you can't cover it lightly with leaves. That's called an attractive nuisance, I believe is the legal term.
Not really, but it's
no.
You'd be hiding the danger. It'd be even worse. It'd be even worse because it's a trap.
Oh, I'm an attractive nuisance. Never mind. So
let's get into. So there's like this list of laws that the Torah goes into, and then after that list of laws and behavior and conduct, and it says something that's really, there's like a transition here, and it gets to more of, you'll see, it changes its tone. In chapter 22, verse 20. You shall not taunt or oppress a stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt.
Be nice.
You shall not cause pain to any widow or orphan. If you dare to cause them pain, and they shall cry out to me, I will surely hear their outcry. My wrath will blaze, and I shall kill you by the sword, and your wives will be widows, and your children orphans.
Yeah, and you see the little, there's an asterisk on that one. It's another good one. I love that one. The asterisk is really is interesting as all get out. Read that.
That's just on 20.
Yeah,
stranger?
20. Yeah. It says well, I'll read it. It says, although it's forbidden to abuse anyone, this prohibition is framed specifically with reference to the disadvantaged, because they are most vulnerable to such mistreatment. And the Torah implies that anyone who dares cause a widow or orphan to suffer should expect severe retaliation from the father of orphans and the judge of widows, according to Rashi. And that is like awesome. This is exactly what I want. This is the world I want to live in.
So what the Torah is telling us, and we might, there's one way to look at it very harshly and say, what kind of God would do this, right? This whole notion of an eye for an eye. But really what it's discussing is the whole notion of karma. So many people who might not accept such clarity in the words here might, in other terms, accept, hey, what comes around goes around. Or, that's just their karma. And this is basically and this is what the Torah is telling us, is that the energy you put out is the energy you're going to receive. And when it starts with that pasuk, that sentence where it says, you shall not taunt or oppress a stranger. Why? For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. It's teaching empathy. It's saying that you were there before. Practice, and what we extract from this is we need to put ourselves in the shoes of others before we even open our mouth. And first of all, you don't taunt or oppress anyone. And the word for stranger that the Torah uses is ger. Now, ger is also the word, aside from being translated as stranger, is also the term that's used for a convert. So what God is saying is converts, widows, and orphans hold a special place in this world. And we need to take special care of them, and honor them and be sensitive to them. Just like we need to with other people, but there's this special place for them. Now we can move on. When you lend money to the poor person, don't take interest. Yeah.
Can I also address a little bit about the eye for an eye?
Yeah.
Because okay, so again, eye for an eye, and we talk about this. I mean, everybody. I mean, little children. I mean, even at the age of 6 months, have been tested and understand the concept of equality and fairness. Okay, and taking away. And if you read, I mean, and so fairness is really built into the human biology, I would say, according to scientists. And thankfully, sages recognize this, and the Talmud commented on this eye for an eye business. Now, for those that don't know, the Bible's the Bible, right? And then we have a bunch of sages that have gotten together. They've written this thing called the Talmud. There's a lot of commentary about this. And what they say in one of the chapters, Baba Kama 83b to 84a, that the term an eye for an eye means that the responsible party must pay monetary value for an eye. Not because now we're all talking about, these days you see the little meme, an eye for an eye means everybody in the whole world ends up blind. Well, that's true. And they recognized it even back then when they were thinking about this and they were writing the Talmud. So this other guy, Rambam, he's another famous sage, turned around and commented on that comment in the Torah. And he says the Torah uses the expression an eye for an eye because the heavenly scales, the perpetrator deserves to lose his own eye, and for this reason cannot find atonement merely by making the required monetary payments. It's not enough to just make the monetary payments. He must also beg for his victims' forgiveness. And so that I want to always impart. It is part of Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, and part of Jewish tradition that you own up to your shit. Okay, you own up and accept responsibility, and then you atone for it. You do your best to make it right. And some things, like an eye, you just can't make right. So you better, keep that in the forefront of your mind. Measure twice, cut once, all right? Always be responsible. Okay, back to you, Rob.
Yeah, great. This one is really interesting. Chapter 22, verse 1. And this is the integrity of the judicial process. So it's telling judges how to be a proper judge. Do not accept a false report. Do not extend your hand with the wicked to be a venal witness. Do not be a follower of the majority for evil, and do not respond to a grievance by yielding to the majority to pervert law. So don't just go with the crowd. Just because they're doing the wrong thing, you got to speak up. Do not glorify a destitute person in his grievance. Now, this is important. So one might want to give someone who is disadvantaged an advantage in court against someone who is wealthy and has all sorts of power. But if that person who's disadvantaged is not in the right, you have to rule according to what the law is. You're rich, you're poor, it doesn't matter. You have to treat everyone evenly. Now, this one is very important.
We're having problems with that these days too.
We do.
Mm-hmm. See, I mean, none of this stuff, that we're talking about is old news. It's current topic.
Yeah. Well, it clearly was old news because it was relevant then, and that's why it was written and given to us. So it was. These were issues that were occurring within all societies as societies were developing. And so then when this book comes down, the Torah comes down and tells us these are the things we need to address. And what's interesting is if you follow it, you don't have the problems anymore. That's it. You follow it, no more problem. You have something you can refer to. Sorry, that's what the law is. I cannot pervert justice. Sorry. Now this one goes back to what I was telling you about what Rabbi Hillel said about love your fellow as yourself, the rest is commentary. This pasuk says, if you encounter an ox of your enemy or his donkey wandering, you shall return it to him repeatedly. Then it goes on, if you see the donkey of someone you hate crouching under its burden, would you refrain from helping him? you shall help repeatedly with him. Wow. So this is not, the Torah is not just telling us to love one another, but even if there's someone you have a problem with, even if it's your enemy, you have to help your enemy if you see that their property has walked off, or if they need help, if their animal needs help, you have to help them repeatedly. And so the Torah says it in two different ways, back to back, and it ends each verse with, you shall help repeatedly with him. So this is it's a big deal if you really think about it. And if we all just contemplate, maybe there's someone in our lives who we do not get along with. And envision that person really having a hard time with something, and then reaching out to them and helping them with this thing that they're having this hard time with. You should, the Torah is telling us, you should be able to do that. That's available in your heart. The ability to do that is there. We're designed for this. So it's our duty then to tap into that and then exercise that when it presents itself to us. And I think the Torah saying this is telling us that this opportunity will present itself. And when you go ahead and you do that, and you help your enemy, not helping them do something bad, obviously, but help them in their life, you are doing a mitzvah. You're doing a good deed. This is a good deed that you're doing. It's something good. No matter what anyone else might tell you, don't help them. Don't give a shit about them. They screwed you over. They burned you. You help them. Okay, and then and this is, yes.
I don't know if I missed this, but did you talk about 22:17? You shall not permit a sorceress to live.
No, I skipped that one.
Can we talk
Why
about
don't
that?
Yirmiyahu. Well, why don't you take that one on?
Well, Leah asked a question.
I'm just curious that there's no commentary.
You're curious. There's no commentary.
Yeah, they don't mention that in the message.
No, it is the sorceress. It says here the sorceress. The court inflicted the death penalty applies equally to a male and female sorcerers, but the verse uses the feminine because the activity was more common among women. That's Rashi. The Talmud teaches that pasuk, the contraction, they deny the divine retinue. By definition, sorcery is an attempt to assume control of nature through the powers of impurity and thus to deny God's mastery. So I think therein Leah is the difference.
I think it's the denial of God's mastery rather than the invocation of God to assist you in your theological or magical request, your desire, right? So
yes.
When it says you should not permit it, is it saying that that person shall be put to death? Like, is this a crime punishable by death? You shall not permit them to live?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's, but and I know that sounds very scary, except for the fact that the definition of sorcery at that time is very flexible. Everybody seems to be doing it. There's examples of bellamancy. There's examples. Yes. You've got Moses throwing down his staff. It turns into a snake. But the difference is that his magic is sourced by God. So really, the definition is that there's forbidden magic, right? That's what other people do, and then there's there's biblically approved magic, and there's some that are crisscross.
But
Like
they are-
we are not allowed in Judaism. There's explicit prohibition against reading entrails, but there is not an explicit prohibition against belomancy, using arrows.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's talked about in the or Klidon, right? Klidon, which is asking a child what parsha they read this week in school, right? That's Klidon. You ask the school child what parsha did they read and draw your answer from that. It's bibliomancy without a book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, but they are acknowledging that there is sorcery that is happening without.
Yes. Well,
Yes.
Egypt remember when Moses throws down his staff, right? The Pharaoh looks at him and says, big fucking deal.
Yeah.
My guys can do the same magic. And they do, right? And
I guess
but
it's
their
just-
magic is considered witchcraft or forbidden magic, because the source of their magic isn't Yahweh, and Yahweh shows his superiority because he, represented by Moses' staff, eats the other. He eats the other ones.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
So, but it's just, I guess the fact that magic is happening not through God, it's happening through, like, who's allowing it to happen? If God is all God, everything, all one, is he also making this nonsense happen in the corner with the pharaohs?
Yeah, he's making it. He's
making it happen,
right.
playing both sides.
The parsha that we did a couple of days ago, right, is Aaron stretches out his hand, right, and all the necromancers and magicians stretch out their hand over the water, and all of these plagues, like that might be the frog one. Which one is that where he stretches out his hand over the water? Is that water to blood?
Blood. Yeah. And then what happens is when Aaron does it, well, when Moshe, I think Moshe does it,
Maybe it's Moshe.
Moshe does it. All the vessels, every vessel containing blood in Egypt, water in Egypt turns to blood. Not just the river.
Not just the river, but it's not just him that does it. It says explicitly all the necromancers of the land.
But I guess what I'm saying is it like God playing chess with himself? Is he making this lesser magic happen? Because it's happening. Someone is making this supernatural stuff happen.
You mean on the other
Yes,
deity?
Right. It's not, ISIS or whoever making this stuff happen. Even though they might be praying to her,
It's
or
so
making magic
complicated.
in their name, it's still happening. So I'm just wondering if God's like, watch me kick this guy's ass, but he's
Right. So
playing
Leah,
with-
so let me understand your point. Your point is the Torah portion and other parts of the Torah are acknowledging that there are other gods. And it's also acknowledging that there's other magic, right? Because if you have a sorcerer, you're not going to have a sorcerer or sorceress or magic being used that doesn't work. If it doesn't work, no one's going, right? So it's got to work to some degree in order for it to be attractive and for people to want to use it and go to these people. So why would God allow that in God's domain if God is everything, right? Then God is also that, right? So it's an interesting point, but I think, and I don't know if this answers it, it goes back to the whole idea of free will. So there are choices that one makes throughout life, and it can be you can worship God or not. And so if God is the creator of the entire world, everything is from God. So if whether you're Jewish or you're not Jewish, you're God's child. It's part of God's creation. So God created a world where there is sorcery and there is magic and there is death and there is starvation. And
And
there are,
evil and bad
right.
people and
and
good lawyers
you say,
and
well,
bad
how-
lawyers and
why would
bad
God
doctors and
why would God do that? And it's, that's the eternal struggle is, why is that from God? But I think it goes back to a principle that we talked about in prior Torah portions, which is Amuna, which is the faith in God. And so if you're truly going to have faith, which is what everything is all about, in the journey of the Jews in the desert, it's all about that. And the forefathers of Judaism and the mothers of Judaism, it's all about faith. If you're going to have that faith and develop that faith, you have to be able to have free will. You have to be able to see contradictions. You have to be able to accept the seemingly bad with the good, pain and suffering, and joy at the same time. And I think that's wrapped up really well in the yin yang symbol. So it's accepted in Taoist philosophy, where the opposites become one. And I think that is the Jewish principle as well. That when everything is of the same source, it's one. Now, I don't know if that answers your question, but I think it's a matter of free will.
So I understand the why. I get the free will and,
Yes.
allow people to make the choices. I guess my question is, how is this other magic, supernatural displays, or
what's the praxis?
how is that happening? if
How
it's
is
not
God-
divine?
If it's not
from
divine,
God.
how is God allowing it to
Yeah, how
happen?
can somebody?
Same thing. How is God allowing anything bad to happen?
Yeah, it's not the why is he allowing, how is he allowing? I'm curious about what kind of, I guess, what is their source
Of power.
of power? Yeah.
What
thank
is the other? Are other? Well, there's. I don't. Again,
you. Are they used?
I interpret the Torah to, and I'm in disagreement, I think, with Aaron. I'm not sure. I interpret the Torah to say that God does not deny the existence of other gods. He just says, don't put them before me because I'm jealous. So there are others. In my mind, I would answer that by saying there are other sources of power, and yes, you can tap into them. No, it's not always good. It's kind of like fracking. Okay, we all need energy, and we can do it sustainably, or we can choose coal, right? I mean, we can either one might come with cost, and still might be effective. And we have that all the time in medicine, right? Where it's the two sides of the same coin, where digitalis, which is made from foxglove, right? Foxglove is a natural plant that's growing. If you eat it, it turns a person who has a normal heart rate dead. But if you give it to someone with an abnormal heart rate, right, digitalis is used to control AFib and heart problems. So sure, there are sources of other powers all over the place. Are we allowed to use them? Not so much. You have a gun in your house? Yes. Are you allowed to use it? Sometimes, only in certain states, under certain conditions,
Okay.
when the moon is right.
Starting to make, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that answers my question. Thank you. Sorry for the tangent.
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's a very good question. Those are the eternal questions, right? So, and then it's there for us to question the existence of God, because
Well, those are the
these
questions that sent me to the back of the room and made me stand in a corner
Yeah, I got
for an hour.
I got kicked.
Yeah, Yeah, if Hebrew school was only a little different, right? If, that's why we're here now. All right. The Torah goes on to repeat the do not oppress a stranger. You know the feelings of a stranger, for you are a stranger in the land of Egypt. So again, I mean, when the Torah is repeating something, it's telling us this is like a really, really important principle. And so this principle of kindness is really hammered in to us. And I think it's wonderful to see this and to reread it in the same parsha, so you get it. You know, the more you read something, you internalize it. The portion talks about the different holidays. So I think we covered Pesach, Passover, at the time that the Jews were commanded to do the Passover offering. It's reiterated here again, but except now it's talking about the 3 pilgrimage festivals. So what that means is there are three festivals: Shavuot, Pesach, and Sukkot, where one in Israel is supposed to go and make offerings to the temple. Now, then there's the promise that God makes to the Jews and lays out in the Torah what the borders of Israel are going to be. And so, and this is what's interesting. In previous Parsha, we started this a little late, but there were basically, the Torah is laying out a claim, a land claim, saying, this is yours, this is where it is. And for instance, where the cave where Sarah is buried, that is the purchase of that cave is documented in the Torah, and to this day in Israel it exists, and people will go and they'll pray at her grave. And so it says here in chapter 23, verse 31, I shall set your border from the Sea of Reeds to the Sea of the Philistines, and from the wilderness until the river. For I shall deliver the inhabitants of the land.
So from the river to the sea.
That's it. And I shall deliver. I know. For I shall deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hands, and you shall drive them away from before you.
Here,
You shall
can
not seal a covenant with them or their gods.
get out?
And they shall not dwell in your land, lest they cause you to sin against me, that you will worship their gods for it be a trap for you. So the commandment at this point was for the Jews to go within this border and just take it. Now you might say, oh, you know, how could this be? It's so unjust to take the land. Back at this time, there were constant battles for territory and land within kingdoms. We have the Assyrians, we have later the Greeks, we have the Romans, and previous to it, it's the Jews, and it just, history is just replete with instances where there are power struggles over land and territory. And what's interesting about many of the different civilizations as they've expanded, none of them have had a book that is said to be given directly from God that gives them the right to go ahead and expand an empire. Now, what's interesting about the Torah is it's not saying continue to expand the kingdom. It's limiting the kingdom to the borders of the land and not beyond. So it's different from perhaps the Roman civilization, the Roman Empire, because the Roman Empire was one that they sought to expand, or the Assyrians, or the Greeks, or just empires and civilizations afterwards. They sought to continue to expand their land grab. but this is very specific about where the borders are, which is very different. Because what the promise here is here's your borders, here's your kingdom, that's your land, that's where you stay. And it's not about spreading Judaism, it's not about converting others, it's about this is your land, this is where you stay, and this is how you're going to worship, these are going to be the laws that you're going to practice. I don't know if there are questions, because it's a very hot topic now, if there are any questions within the group about that. No? Woohoo! Wow, silence. Okay. So Moshe then, it said that he rose, he wrote all the words of Hashem, right? So the Torah is being written. He repeats, the commentary says, Moshe instructs the people to encircle the mountain and desist from sexual relations so they can concentrate. He repeated the previously given ordinances, so all the laws in Mishpatim, the 10 Commandments and the Noahide laws, the Shabbat, honor the parents, the red cow and the civil laws. We'll get into the red cow. And then he wrote the Torah from beginning until this point. Then, so Moshe writes the Torah all the way up to now. He makes an offering, and then he takes the book, he reads it to everyone, and everyone says, Hashem has spoken, we will do and we will obey. So again, not a Seva Nishma, which is we're doing it first, then we will obey, meaning we'll understand it afterwards. We have a commitment. This is our emunah, this is our faith. We're going to do this, we'll understand it afterwards. And we went over that in the last parsha too. So now what's curious is, and this is a question that I have for my rabbi, and I was debating with him last week when we were learning last week's parsha. Now what happens after that, Hashem says to Moshe, go up on the mountain so I can give you 2 tablets. Now, why? Why at this point does God command Moshe to now go up on the mountain so he can receive the 10 commandments and 2 tablets? We already have it. We already received it. It's already spoken to us. So why do we need actual tablets now to confirm everything that has happened before? No, I have a theory.
Yeah, let's hear it.
What's happening right now?
What stone was the tablets written from? I'm gonna quiz you.
Oh, it was like a jade, wasn't it? It's like some kind of
The
green...
foundation stone.
Oh, what?
But yes, I have heard also that gemstone too.
Yeah, some kind of thing where the first set of the 10 commandments, the way the letters were, they weren't. It was like a supernatural kind of carving.
Unless you want to walk up and talk to her and ask her.
So the theory that I have is right now, Judaism is about a relationship with God. And we see this because what's different with Jews than from Muslims, to be a Muslim is to submit. That's what it literally means. And what I'm saying is I'm just comparing. I'm not saying one is better or worse. I'm just making a comparison for anyone out there. A Jew, the first Jew, who was Abraham, made a covenant with God. And a covenant is an agreement. It's a promise between 2 parties to fulfill agreed upon terms. And that's why we see the Torah is replete with Jews complaining, the great forefathers questioning God and challenging God. because it's a true relationship. It's not one where one just simply submits. But there's also this other element that we were talking about, of emunah, of trust and faith, that exists within that covenant. When one gets married, one has faith and trust that the other party will fulfill their obligations in that unity. They also will question in that relationship things as they develop. And just because you question within the context of a marriage doesn't mean that you don't have faith and you don't honor the other person. That's part of the relationship. And what we see here is with the 10 Commandments, the 10 Commandments becomes an actual written acknowledgement, a ketubah, the contract itself between God and the Jewish people. So the marriage now is being documented with this, with these tablets, these stone tablets in writing, carved there. Something that is not a piece of paper, that is not a piece of parchment that will fade with time, but something that is carved into stone forever and ever, that's designed to last for eternity. And so I think this is the actual marriage between the Jewish people and God that we're about to experience here. And we see as the parsha ends that the mountain is enveloped in clouds. And what is that? But in a Jewish ceremony of the chuppah, when two Jews get married outside, there's a covering, and that covering is over them, just like the covering of clouds would be over the mountain, where the Jews are standing down beneath the mountain, and God is there. God's presence is at the mountain too, and now we have the clouds covering it, covering both of them together, and they're about to get married. So that's my take on it, and I know that we use these masculine and feminine terms to describe God. God is always described in the masculine, and then the soul that all of us have.
Wait, and the God is always described in the masculine.
I think so.
Shekinah.
The Shekhinah. That's good. Okay, the Shekhinah, right?
All right.
But the neshama, which is our soul, is feminine. And Kabbalah talks about the relationship between the masculine and feminine with God and our souls. And it's a very important dimension to understand. And it's also spoken about, the whole idea of gender is spoken about in the Kabbalion as well. So it's referred to in the Kabbalion, these are Hermetic writings that are supposedly predate the Torah, but are principles of how the world and the universe operates, which is interesting because the Torah seems to follow along these same lines, just in the text itself, but not in the same way that the Kabbalion spells it out. So that's all I got for you today. So, questions, comments?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, thank you for all that explanation.
It's very thick. See, I mean, I think this might have been the first time that we didn't stop at the second sentence.
I was trying to move it along. I was really trying to move it along.
So, well, thank you so much. I mean, it's wonderful. We are all.
Fridge for me, please.
We're gonna go jump into our next meeting, which is Jewish mysticism, an introduction to Kabbalah. We're on the chapter Metatron and Philo. So meet us over at the next one.
But before we do that, if we could just take a moment and just send a positive vibe for peace and life everywhere in the world, and especially in the Middle East. We need that right now.
Oh my gosh, Aaron, we sure do. Amen, amen, Salah.
Take it out of the bag. Where's the bag?
I need to share with you something privately, Aaron.
Okay. All right.
About that, but
okay.
Absolutely right. We definitely need
We need that
peace.
now.
Yes.
Okay, love you guys.
Love you, thank
See
you
you
so
next
much.
week, God willing. Okay.
Bye-bye.